The most famous and dangerous people in history, most of the Earth's inhabitants have not been spared from their severe might. In summer, they were farmers, shepherds, and fishermen, and in winter, bloodthirsty invaders described as the deadly devil. Yet, their sudden disappearance from existence remains one of history's greatest mysteries to this day. Let's dive into their details. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. The Viking Age is one of the most puzzling periods in history, as the Vikings did not establish a cohesive empire with a single capital and centralized leadership, which poses a real challenge to scientists in separating myths from facts. The goal is to understand what happened in that bloody era, which ended with their sudden disappearance without any warning. Let's explore the mysterious world of the Vikings, including their most prominent figures, beliefs, tools, raids, and eerie myths, until we reach the major event of their sudden disappearance and together discover the latest research and evidence scientists have found about their legacy to this day. The Vikings, or Norsemen, were fierce warriors known for their bravery, savagery, and thirst for blood and conquest, amassing precious treasures. They resided in the Scandinavian region, now comprising Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland, living between the 8th and 11th centuries, launching countless raids to satisfy their rampant desires to expand their kingdom and increase their wealth until they vanished suddenly. Their language was Old Norse, now known as the North Germanic languages. The Vikings were pagans who revered several deities, most notably Odin, the god of war, Thor, the god of thunder, and Balder, the god of light. They firmly believed that if they died in battle, they would be invited to live with the gods in Valhalla. Let's pause for a moment at Valhalla. According to Norse mythology, it is a vast, majestic hall within the great palace in Asgard, in the otherworld, where those who die valiantly in battle reside, hosted by the god Odin. They enjoy feasts and revelry until the day they will fight alongside him during Ragnarok, which will restore peace anew. Alongside their pagan beliefs, the Vikings also believed in a beast-like god, the North Sea monster or the god Loki, whom they thought Odin sent as a warning to humans against committing evils. This belief led them to carve the imagined face of the beast Loki on the prows of their ships to ward off evil. This is not all there is to their ships, as they also hold another enigmatic secret, which we will discuss later in the episode. The Vikings primarily relied on agriculture, livestock breeding, and fishing. Over time, as their control expanded, the Vikings entered the world of trade forcefully, establishing multiple centers, most notably in Hedeby in Denmark, which became the largest and most important center in Viking history. Through it, they dominated trade routes in all four directions: north, south, east, and west. The Vikings were renowned for trading in Arab coinage: gold, silver, precious stones, fabrics, furs, and even slaves. You might wonder how they acquired these goods and products. Well, the main source was the raids they were famous for, which is why they have been described throughout history as monsters and sea wolves. No destination on Earth was beyond their reach, for multiple reasons, in addition to their courageous nature. The first reason is their exceptional ships, which presented a real puzzle due to their advanced technology and precision in design, considered highly advanced compared to the capabilities of that era. They meticulously studied the length and depth of the ships, depending on the destination of their raids and the nature of the waters they would sail in. Unbelievably, they built ships with a technique that allowed them to bury their dead on them, along with their possessions and provisions, thinking the ship would carry the deceased to the afterlife. The second reason is the Ulfberht sword, considered the best of its time and centuries ahead of its era. The sword was made from pure, hard steel, a material unknown to the world at that time until centuries later. How the Vikings accessed this material remains unknown to this day, with ongoing research trying to unravel the secrets of the Viking sword, of which only about 100 real swords have been found. The third reason is the sunstone, a wooden disc used by the Vikings to determine direction based on the shadow of the sun. Now, after these brief details about the Viking people, let's talk a little about their raids. The invasion of Lindisfarne on the British coast in the year 793 marked the beginning of the Viking Age, where they discovered the West, which they had believed to be a mere fictional tale. They attacked the monastery on the island, burned it, killed the monks, and took the precious possessions, thus launching their dream of expansion and acquisition of as many treasures as possible. This raid opened the door to further raids and expansion into the European continent and even the American continent, according to myths. It is said that the commander Leif Erikson, the son of Eric the Red, aimed to expand the kingdom's influence and set foot on the coast of what is now North America. This means that the Vikings were the first to discover America, hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus. After mentioning Leif Erikson, it is essential to shed light on the most prominent Viking kings, starting with Eric the Red, known by this name due to his red hair. Eric discovered Greenland in the year 985. Eric had 3 sons, the most famous of whom is Leif Erikson, who discovered the American coast. The second king, Harold Godwinson, shone in Norway and achieved great victories and conquests. One of his most notable achievements was introducing the Vikings to the era of trade after gaining all knowledge about it from his raids and constant travels. The most prominent name among Viking leaders is King Ragnar. The facts about this king are confirmed by the most reliable historical sources. He married 3 times. His first wife was Lagertha, the second Thora, and the third Aslaug. He had 6 sons: Bjorn Ironside, Sigurd Snake in the Eye, Ivar the Boneless, Ubbe, Hvitserk, and Magnus. It is worth mentioning that Ragnar's sons, or the sons of Ragnar, formed the great heathen army to avenge the English king Ella of Northumbria, who executed their father by throwing him into a pit filled with venomous snakes. Ragnar began as a simple farmer before climbing the ladder of power and strength to become an earl, and then a king with great might, almost godlike to the Viking people, leading wide-ranging raids. As a result of the Vikings' raids and their integration with the local communities they encountered, the Vikings learned about Christianity and adopted it after previously worshipping gods and idols. The Vikings continued to expand, but Greenland remained their primary colony, where their population reached over 100,000 people by the year 1410. This date marks the last recorded presence of the Vikings in this colony, as no one has seen them since. Norway and Iceland, like the rest of Europe, entered a maze of wars and deadly diseases, causing all forms of communication with the people of Greenland to be cut off. After several years, Hans Egede established a new colony in Greenland in 1721, and the search for the old Viking colony began. However, only traces of their villages, huts, and some of the animals they left behind were found, making their disappearance one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in our modern history. A whole people vanished. The confirmed theory suggests that the Vikings of the Greenland colony traveled north to the extreme north of Greenland, to the North Pole, where life was warm and fertile with abundant forests and fish, until they disappeared entirely. In an attempt to discover the reason for the Vikings' disappearance, an officer from the American Naval Forces began an investigation at the beginning of the year 1900, after studying the nature and lifestyle of the Inuit people, who confirmed that the Vikings headed north to the North Pole, where they found a paradise with abundant fish, a place the Inuit knew about but never considered living in due to their belief in the existence of a creature. According to Admiral Bradley Cook, this area where the Vikings disappeared is located in the southwest of the North Pole, the same area that remains undiscovered in this pole to this day. Researchers and archaeologists are still trying to uncover the secret of the Vikings' disappearance, and they are certain about their way of life and nature through the discovered artifacts, including their travels, battles, and settlements. However, the mysterious path is still at its beginning, and the secret of their disappearance remains unknown. The Vikings are one of the mysterious secrets of this universe, and more secrets will be revealed in our upcoming episodes. Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to the channel.